Hello, fourth graders. Today we're going to spend some time learning about how the author really wants us to read his or her stories. When the author puts in particular kinds of fonts or punctuation, he or she is giving you directions on how they intended the story to be read. So if we take a look at the book Gecko, and I'm going to turn in here to page 14, look at the different fonts on this page and how we have some words that are written in all caps. We've got some different punctuation. Pay attention as I read this page. He jumps onto a tree. What's this creeping toward him? A tasty cockroach. Gecko is as still as a stone until the bug is almost under his nose. Crunch! He strikes with strong jaws and jerks his head back to swallow the cockroach whole. Geckos eat insects, worms, fruit, and sometimes other small lizards. They have between 50 and 300 tiny teeth. Did you notice a little bit of a difference in the way I read the fiction part of the story from the nonfiction? Not a lot, but just a little bit. This, remember, was one of our hybrid books. You should have noticed that I emphasized the word in all caps, said it a little louder because it's in all caps. It's in big writing and it's got an exclamation mark. All right, let's take a look at another example from Play Ball. If we go to this page and just look at this paragraph. The three boys were silent. Then Jorge grinned shyly and said, "Well, maybe I should practice a little left-handed." Okay, notice how the comma, first of all, the quotation marks let me know that I am speaking now as Jorge. So you want to try to sound like that character a little bit different than you're reading the other parts that are not in quotations. There was a little pause at the comma. The word in italics, should, I said a little more, just a little more loudly. I emphasized it. Maybe I should practice a little. And then there's a pause. That dash means pause. And then continue with left-handed. I'm going to skip to another page in here and look at these two paragraphs. Or I'm just going to start right here. They strolled through Central Park, but the best was yet to come. This is called an ellipsis. It usually has 3 dots or periods, but if it's the end of a sentence, you use 4. And so this just means you kind of fade away because there's something more coming. It's sort of like saying, meanwhile, on this day they took the subway. When they emerged from the underground, Jorge's father pointed. Look, there it is. Okay, and so this is a colon, the 2 dots, and a colon is used for a longer pause to let you know there's something important coming up. And it's separated, in this case, what the father was doing to what he was saying. All right, so the author puts in lots of clues to let you know how you should read that book when you're reading out loud. So here are some examples of what the author does with punctuation and font. Let's see if I can get this adjusted. All right, so when you see a certain punctuation mark, make your voice, and then there's that ellipsis. So we want to see when you see a period, go down, make your voice go down and come to a full stop. When you see a question mark, make your voice go up. When you see an exclamation mark, show strong feeling. That could be anger or excitement or fear. When you see a comma, pause for a short breath. When you see a dash, come to a full stop. When you see ellipsis, drift away. So you make your voice just kind of drift away. Make it kind of elongate that last word. When you see a colon, make your voice pause to prepare for what comes next. When you see a semicolon with the dot and then the comma, pause to separate two parts of the same sentence. And when you see quotation marks, make your voice sound like the character who is speaking. Italics look like this. It's kind of slanted writing, and you should say words that are in italics just a little bit louder. You want to emphasize those. If you see them in bold or dark print, make the word sound important. When they're in all capital letters, say the word louder for emphasis. If they're underlined, say the word a little louder. If they're in parentheses, make your voice sound like you're speaking directly to the reader. So then you're like the narrator of the story, and you're telling the reader something that the character doesn't know. And if you see a change in font, you want to read a little bit differently for emphasis. So just like in our hybrid books, how we had two different kinds of fonts, one for fiction and then one for nonfiction. And so this one, the nonfiction part, can be read in a more normal voice, and the top part more like a story. All right, so as you're reading from now on, I want you to pay attention to how the author writes, the punctuation they use, the fonts that they use. Take note of it and see if you can figure out how exactly they want it to be read.